This week's Injury Update is brought to you by the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. JOI is the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And say hello to Dr. Gary Kitay from Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. He's a team consultant and hand physician for the Jacksonville Jaguars and obviously works in that neighborhood of the body, which includes fractures to the hand and fingers, which we get a lot in the NFL, all different positions, and ironically forearm as well, which we just told you Daniel Thomas broke the forearm. Dr. Kitay, thanks for joining us. Hope you and your family having a fantastic holiday season. How common is the broken forearm in football?
First, thanks very much for having me. It's good to be here, and happy and healthy New Year to everyone. Forearm fractures are not that common, but they do happen, and it's happened to different team members of the Jags before, and sometimes you can even have a recurrent fracture, and so it's things that they're difficult injuries and ones that we have to deal with, and unfortunately, when they are displaced, they usually do require a surgical procedure to get the optimal outcome.
Yeah, that makes some sense, and it's too bad. Again, Jags, Daniel Thomas, very good special teamer, big part of that, one of the best in the league, really. We've seen him make some incredible plays. Overall, you're talking about a part of the body that we have seen players, and somebody asked me this today, it's like sometimes we'll have a cast on and still play, whether it's the hand or maybe fingers or even, I don't know if they do that with a forearm, but you just kind of described it. If there's some displacement, it's probably significant enough where that's not an option.
Yeah, so just what you said, it depends on the player's position, and it depends on the type of the injury and the severity of the injury, and there's so many different factors. But if there is a displaced fracture, when it's a finger, you can sometimes put a club cast on it and completely protect it. And depending on the position, it's not the quarterback, but it might be a different position that's not a skilled position that you can get the patient back on the field. But usually with the forearm, even a long arm cast, it's difficult to immobilize the injury well enough where the patient can tolerate that type of force during the game.
Dr. Kitay with us here from Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, Brent and Friends on ESPN 690. Now, the broken finger stuff, I feel like that happens every week, and now that's probably a little dramatic, but pretty common injury, right, at all different positions, from receivers catching a football and getting that thing jammed to offensive linemen and defensive linemen with all the tussling going on in the trenches. I got to believe that's a pretty common injury across the sport.
Well, just what you said, the jam finger, that's probably a daily occurrence on the practice field, certainly during game day. And the jam finger is something that these high-level athletes deal with on a regular basis. And with the minimal amount of protection, including buddy taping, that's something that they can tolerate pretty well. The fractured finger, where there's actually a bone that's broken, that tends to be a more difficult injury, higher energy, more difficult to tolerate, and that one often requires more protection. So there are a lot of fractures. Most of them do not require surgery, but they do require more protection than just the jam finger.
Yeah, I've seen what comes to mind is Torrey Holt, who used to play for the Jags for a bit, obviously longtime Ram. I mean, his finger is like sideways permanently. You probably get a lot of that, right? I mean, I don't know about a lot of that, but you get some messed up joints, I think, on the hand from playing this game for a long time.
Yeah, these are very tough guys, and they tolerate a lot. And sometimes it's only a couple of years later to say, "Oh yeah, doc, what about my finger? Why is it crooked?"
Yeah.
And sometimes the deformity is marked, and at times it's also too late to correct it when it's that late. So it's good to for everyone, the players, the trainers, the docs, to stay on top of these, and if they do need protection or correction, to deal with it early on.
Let me ask you one more part of the body that you specialize in that the hand area. I feel like there would be more hand injuries in the NFL, but I don't really nothing comes to mind right away for me. So is that because the hands are protected in a pretty good way by tape and gloves and everything else, especially with the big fellas?
Right. So they're probably the most common in the linemen. but they're tolerated and covered up pretty well, and they could be accommodated for. But they're around. I mean, in the popular press, the LA quarterback Justin Herbert, I think he's recently had surgery on his hand. I mean, Burrow, he's had a wrist injury that obviously sidelined his season. So in the areas where that hand is critical for quarterbacks, more for receivers, you'll hear about it more, and you'll see it come up more for teams, and you'll see it more in the news as well.
That makes some sense. Dr. Gary Kitay from Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute specializes in that hand, finger, wrist area, forearms as well. And we appreciate taking a few minutes. Thanks for sharing some of the knowledge, and we'll see if we can keep the Jags healthy over these next couple weeks.
Absolutely. That's the goal.
Have a good day.